Guys, it's not every day that we get a version 2 of a knife where the designers have really heard from the consumers like you and me, addressed some of our concerns, and upgraded the material to boot. But that is exactly what we have in today's video, as we're gonna take a look at the Giant Mouse Ace series in the Iona version 2, V2 Iona. Now, Jesper Vox and Jens Anzo are the designers over at Giant Mouse. I believe it's like their company in partnership with one or two other people, and they have designed this tool. Now, I actually did a review on the original Iona a few years back, where there were aspects that I really liked, but there were some issues that I really had with the handle ergonomics. We're gonna find out today how much they have addressed in some of that. What have they done maybe to update with this version 2.0? So thanks for joining me, guys. I'm Aaron. This is Gideon's Tactical. Let's dive on in. Now we got to kick things off with just the profile. The profile is just so natural, organic. I mean, it looks like it was picked off the shelf out of Whole Foods or Trader Joe's on how organic and kind of, and when I say simple, not in a bad way, simple the profile is. It reminds me a lot of actually those Bavarian designed peasant knives from several hundred years ago, those pocket knives from Bavaria and that kind of area. It has a very similar profile to that. Now, the first thing that they did over the old design is they enlarged it by about 0.3 inches on either side. The blade now is exactly 3 inches long, and the handle is 4.33, I think, overall handle length. The original versions were under 3 inches of blade length and right at like 4 inches on the handle. So that's feature number one that has been done. The other attribute, whereas the old models, I believe, were M390, now we got CPM MagnaCut. Gosh, I love MagnaCut. Now, having had it on so many tools, I'm in love with this stainless steel, because if you're not familiar, usually you have three pillars of knife steel. You have rust resistance, the stainless capability of the steel, you have edge retention, and then you have toughness. And what normally happens with steel is if you focus on one, and especially if you focus on two, the third is going to suffer. So maybe you have good edge retention and toughness, but maybe the stainless usually is going to go down and you're going to have more corrosion resistance. If you focus on toughness, edge retention isn't always there. You focus on edge retention, it's not usually very tough and will chip out and cause damage pretty quickly. MagnaCut, what makes it so special is it's able to accomplish all of those at very high performing levels and not really see suffrage in the other one or lag in the other one. So that's the down and dirty, very simple kindergarten level, if you will, MagnaCut, you know, why it's so excellent. And so great edge retention, great rust resistance, and good toughness for this type of steel all flowing and coming together. Now, this has an extremely high, keeping with the original design, if you already own one or you're familiar with it, almost like a modified flat grind or saber grind, because there is a slight transition, but about 2/3 down, it transitions into a full flat. So it almost is a hyper performing blade, meaning that even though it's 0.11 on the stock thickness and kind of holds that all the way with a good tough tip. This is a thick tip, not overly thick where you can't, you know, pierce, but way more robust than like paper thin. I think of like a Spyderco Delica. Like, this is a way more robust tip, so you're not as nervous about damage being done, accidental breakage, things like that with harder tasks. But because of the way the grind transitions, you can kind of get up and do food prep very easily. It was fun to do food prep, but then it has some strength on that back end because of that flat saber grind portion. Unique, and so, or a more laid back. It's a laid back profile right there. So blade shape, excellent. Material, excellent. Now, as we're figuring out if this piece of equipment is worth putting into our rotation, a piece of equipment that we always need is a good pair of shoes, footwear. And I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is LA Police Gear. And they are one of the best places to get your hands on excellent, well-established brands of footwear. Last year, I bought through LA Police Gear this pair of SALOMON Speed Assault 2s that have really been working well for me as a light duty really agile option on trail. And my beloved XA Forces from Salomon are still trucking after several years of use, and they carry tons of other well-established brands like Danner Footwear, as well as 511 Tactical, Merrell, and that's just scratching the surface, as well as their own well-established brand of LA Police Gear Footwear. And so guys, if you're tired of all the no-name, low-quality footwear options that have been popping up all over the internet in recent years, and tired of footwear companies choosing color palettes that match up with Toucan Sam, and prefer something that's more toned down, muted, more natural, and fits well in your environment, I invite you to check out all the different options of footwear that LA Police Gear carries. And I will have a link in the description below this video over to their website, as well as my exclusive 10% off promo code that you can put towards your purchase on any item site-wide. Now to the creamy deployment. So smooth on bronze washers. Yes, old school. No bearings, no ball bearing stuff to get all gunked up. Just simple. You see the excellent bronze right in there and you're just like, yes, this is going to be great. Stop pin. Really nice standoffs right there. And it just flies, guys. I mean, with those thumb studs, which are super easy to engage, it's ambidextrous. This is a totally ambidextrous knife. It is nice and smooth, and you can almost get like one drop and it just floats boing right into place there. Love it. I got an ever so slight like side to side, super solid up and down on that liner lock. It's just simple liner lock, engaging really well back there. We have a little bit of jimp that just protrudes ever so slightly above the handle scale. We'll talk ergos and how that affects it, yes or yay or nay in a moment. You got adjustable pivot screws and hardware to simply take this thing apart if that's something you wanted to do. Flow through construction with those nice pillars with stainless steel liners on either side, which surprisingly means this comes in at right about 3.5 ounces of weight. So this is a lightweight tool for a dense feel. I mean, definitely with the micarta in either this like natural or you can get black, it feels like a very dense, durable tool, unlike so many, you know, polymer tools that are out there now. It just gives it a feel of durability that you don't always get in pocket knives. Now, before we hit the ergonomic aspect to it, the pocket clip is that wire style pocket clip that you can disconnect and screw left or right. Deep ride for sure. Good, you know, flare out, but not obnoxious here to catch onto a lot of stuff. Rounded, so less likely to cause damage and scraping on like your vehicle and things like that. Good density right there. So really well done. Now to the ergonomics, which was an issue on the original model for me. What we're looking at again is 4.33 on the overall handle length, which is at least 0.2, maybe 0.3 longer than the original. It is 0.52 inches thick in diameter, so that's good. I mean, it's over 1/2 inch thick in diameter, giving you a little bit more girth. And then height as well is 0.92 on the height of the handle, and then that very organic drop. Now on the original, what ended up happening was I had a big hot spot on my pinky, and it was almost having my pinky fall off the handle. Well, check this out. Boom. Locked into place, real estate there, and I got just a hair up front. It feels a lot like a Puko fixed blade. So if you like that idea in your pocket knives, you're gonna really feel the organic like nature and just curvature of the tool. If you like kind of like a big protruding guard, really keep you locked into place, you're not gonna feel that in this design. It may not be for you. That's where something like the Giant Mouse Jutlin would make more sense. You're really locked in, there's a big guard, you know, and all that stuff. This is a lot more like an old school peasant knife, you know, traditional style with all these modern, you know, takes on it. But that's gonna fill out my hand really nicely. And what they did was they removed some of the kind of the dog bone aspects that I had, and it's just this continuous sweep. So there's no secondary like bump up transition, which means that it just literally just cups your hand and you're locked in, full grip. You got a nice little hit of jimping right up there on the spine. And because the handle is overall longer, what was happening before is that this loop on the pocket clip was actually getting right in the meat of my hand because of it was just a shorter handle, causing, again, in conjunction with that more awkwardly bulbous, a little bit more dog-boned feature on the original, just a big bulky hot spot, and I could barely get grip on the knife. Now I have full grip, just barely, but I got it now. full grip with my large size hands. But because of that, now the transition is beyond that, and so I'm feeling the slope, and there's no hot spot anymore on the back end. I was literally just trying to like squeeze this thing, bearing down with some of my cutting tasks, and I felt no hot spot on the back end where I definitely did on the original model. In conjunction, I was like, well, there's a more protruding ever so slightly liner lock, you know, engagement with that same kind of pattern of jimping, which is very light. It kind of has like a sandpaper feel to it, which makes it easier to disengage with like not only bare hands, but gloves, leather gloves, work gloves, you know, those type of things. It makes it a little easier, but I was like, is that going to cause a hot spot? Right up there by my index finger, gripping, you know, like that. I think it's because of the transition with the micarta on that side, and then brings it up. I can't feel it. And maybe it's because it's thicker and just the jimp is very low. You know, it's not sharp jimping. That I don't feel any pain there when I pinch. And when I was doing any sort of cutting task, it just feels like any other pocket knife with a very just organic sweep. Now, Jesper did hook me up with this prior to release so that I could really get a good feel for it, use it a bunch, and really give you guys a good rundown on what the capabilities are, what the differences have been, and whether or not this design would make sense for you to use as like a general EDC or even potentially like a work knife or not. Now, the price point on this is about $195. Just under $200 for either variant, the natural or the black micarta. I will have links for you guys in the description below this video over to GP Knives, which is actually a great way to find good prices on Giant Mouse blades, but also Blade HQ, Amazon, Smoky Mountain Knife Works, all the distributors that I regularly partner with. So if this knife is making sense for you, or I'll throw in some competitive options here, or more just MagnaCut blades momentarily. Now, just for some fun here, a MagnaCut pocket knife that I have currently in rotation that I'm working with is the Microtech Ultratech in MagnaCut, double-edged dagger, Blade HQ exclusive on this particular version right there. Super fun, but like $260, I believe, to almost $300, depending on variant that you go with. Off the top of my head is what that's going for. So significantly more, obviously because it's an OTF. And then what we have here is the TJ Schwartz designed Confidant in MagnaCut. It reminds me a little bit of, even though the handles are slightly different, you know, very similar size actually, and kind of idea behind both of these blades. This is made by TJ in Idaho, and that one's about $300. So you could argue because of a pocket knife, there's just a lot more moving parts. So anyway, about $200 for a MagnaCut pocket knife in a traditional style. And this version 2, I believe, has addressed the concerns I had with the ergonomics on the original design, and now have just upgraded it in the materials. So I look forward to hearing from you guys. What do you think about this tool? Do you like the profile? Do you like more of, you know, super aggressive blades in MagnaCut, or do you like the kind of the old school traditional style? And if you guys have any questions, I look forward to answering them in the comment section below. Appreciate you guys coming over today, checking out this blade, feeding your knife addiction here at Gideon's Tactical with me, and just hanging out, talking about blades. I hope this has been fun and informative and help you guys make a wise choice on your pocket knife selection. If you haven't yet subscribed, I invite you to subscribe and to check out the other video popping up. And until next time, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and I'll see you out there.